Quickly, before I answer, true story, last night watching Thursday Night Football with my youngest, the 8-year-old Deanna, Baker's Progressive commercial comes on. She says to me, "What does Progressive do?" I'm like, I tell her, they sell insurance. She says, "Then why are they all they do is make funny videos?" I'm like, "Oh, Baker's got another fan, funny videos, 8-year-old approves." She didn't understand the idea of it, but now she's a Progressive fan for life. There you go. You and Deanna right there, Jenna.
There you go,
all right.
Deanna.
I think, a surprising answer here. I think Russ has more on the line. And here's why.
Wow.
I am 100% confident, Broussard, that next year Baker Mayfield will be the Browns quarterback. Now, will he have a contract extension? Will there be discussions about his future? Maybe not, and maybe. I am far from certain Russell Wilson will be on the Seahawks next year. And the more I think about it, I feel like Russell Wilson is about as likely to be on the Seahawks next year as he is to be on the Giants next year. The Giants, who, by the way, as of this moment, have the 5th and 7th picks of the upcoming draft thanks to the Justin Fields trade with Chicago. Russ made, to me, such a mess of the offseason. And he didn't get the criticism that some guys would have, but it's not like there was a smoldering fire and he added gas to it. He went out in the woods with his matches and his flint and everything, started a fire out of nowhere, and then kept adding gas to it. Talked to Dan Patrick about it. Had his agent release a list. That's how his offseason went. Then in his season, the one thing even the biggest Russell Wilson critics would have told you, Broussard, is, well, he's always available. Nope, he's hurt. But finds a way while he's hurt to, I think, embarrass himself. I think people thought I was joking. The pantomiming no huddles and 2-minute drills, look at me, national television audience, I'm doing this on the field before Sunday Night Football, is embarrassing. And then he actually embarrassed himself with how he played, forcing his way back into the lineup before he was ready. He can't even go under center because his hand's not ready. And then also leaking to the media, he has actually expanded the length of days in order to work rehab. He has bent the space-time continuum so he can get his finger ready. The whole thing has been embarrassing. And if they fall to 3-7 when he was already unhappy, I would imagine he's getting some eye rolls from the locker room. I think there's a real good chance Russ gets his wish and he gets out of there this offseason. So I think he has more on the line than Baker, who I know is going to be the Browns quarterback next year.
Okay, first of all, Nick, I thought the pantomiming out there talking to nobody, that was cool. It wasn't corny.
No,
it was cool. All right, what it was, you hear athletes talk about visualization, right? Visualizing how important it is. This was just taking visualization a step further. To the next logical step.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah,
is that any cornier than Dak with his little hip moves and, all that stuff?
Well,
I mean,
no.
no.
The hip thing has a purpose. The hip thing has a purpose.
This did too.
Didn't Brandon say Drew Brees does this?
No. Russ is not a look-at-me guy, even though he's alter ego Mr. Unlimited. He's not a look-at-me guy, all right? So I disagree with that. Secondly, Nick, everything you said about Russ maybe not being in Seattle, don't you think that's still there even if they win? Right? I mean, if they win, it's not like, here come the Seahawks. Wilds was right. They're going to the Super Bowl.
4-6 in the NFC, Broussard. To answer it quickly, 4-6 with a win over the Cardinals. They'll be only probably a game out of the final playoff spot. Like, I feel like with a win this week, the Seahawks are afloat for the postseason. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, fair. But thirdly, if Russ is out of Seattle in the future, it's his call. It's because he wants out. If Baker is not in Cleveland, it's because he got booted out. All right, and I get it. Most likely he's their quarterback next year, but they got to kick the tires. That front office is pretty good. They've got to kick the tires on Aaron Rodgers, on Russ, and on Deshaun Watson if he's able to continue playing football. They've got to at least look into those things. And so while you're right, Baker probably will be the quarterback, it's not a guarantee. and it's not going to stop your team from looking elsewhere at the other people out there. And here, just to finish it off, why it's got to be Baker Wilds. Baker has no contract, no long-term contract. Baker's playing for a team that many people thought would reach the Super Bowl or at least the AFC Championship game. Right. And they're looking right now like they might miss the playoffs. And oh, by the way, he threw for 73 yards last week. This is much more on Baker than it is Russ Wilds.
So he threw for 73 yards last week because he went into that game hurt, and he got more hurt when he left Foxborough. He had this quote, Nick, "It's probably the most beat up I've been." He's talking about his condition right now.
Don't play.
If I was Baker, I would not play. Exactly right, Jenna. I wouldn't play. It's a Lions game. It's not Squid Game. You're allowed to take some time off. No one, I think, on this panel thinks that the Lions are going to go 0-16-1. They might, but we've been talking about it, I think, since that Ravens game, Nick. Like, you know what? Lions, frisky, got close against the Ravens. They tied the Steelers. They played the Rams tough. They're always, like, almost there. Granted, they'll get blown out by the Eagles when you think they're almost there. They're a weird team. They're not a great football team. I don't think they're going over. They're going to get a win. And if they get a win against Baker in Cleveland, I think people might start using them if the fans, there is a clamoring like Baker's the problem. Baker's the problem. And if they lose to the Lions, it's going to be an absolute disaster for him.
That's fair. With that said, A, I haven't even conceptualized the possibility they lose to the Lions. B, in order to lose to the Lions, it's going to have to be such a team-wide failure that I feel like the knives will also sharpen for that defense as a whole, which has a number 1 overall pick of the draft in Myles Garrett, has a number 4 pick in Denzel Ward, has a bunch of guys and a bunch of money, and the defense has been, up to this point in the season, even more disappointing than the offense. But I just want to revisit one thing, because Jenna said something interesting about Drew Brees. Jenna mentioned, didn't Brandon tell us that Brees did a lot of this same visualization, pantomiming stuff? Yes. And Brandon had to tell us that because Brees had the dignity to do it in a locker room. Russell Wilson, you can pantomime anywhere you want. You can do it at a practice. You can do it anytime. This is, guys, we all know folks that, give to charity, and we all know folks that at a televised or big auction raise their paddle, say, hey, look at me. Look at the money I'm getting. Russell Wilson, on a team that has been bad this year, wanted to make sure everyone knows how hard he's working, how locked in he is, and it's all. Listen, Broussard, you and I can see this differently, but do you not think there are guys in the locker room rolling their eyes at him? Do you not think that? There's no one in the locker room thinking like I do, like, okay, buddy.
Perhaps, but not because of that. If they're doing it, it might be because of what he did in the offseason last year. Nick, he wasn't out there with his shirt off bench pressing. All right, on the 50-yard line, bench pressing. I saw Tim Tebow walking off the field with his shirt off, sweating in rain. Another look at me guy. What you consider look at me, I consider the courage and the self-assuredness to go out there and do something that many people like you would think was corny and do it all for all of us to see.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.